Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Mpi Toronto first ever town hall. I am so happy to be here with all of you. I'm Margaret Binns, your chapter president. With me today is our immediate past president, Tim Whalen, and our president-elect, Christina Northcott. As well, we have our director of communications, Antonetta Tantalo, who will be moderating our questions today. I just wanted to thank all of you for joining us today. We have almost 100 people registered for today's session, which is incredible. And I wanted to thank all of you who submitted questions as well. We have a lot of questions to get through. Just keep in mind that most of those questions were submitted by a handful of people. So there's still ample opportunity for you to submit. We want to hear from everyone. Use the Slido function, and I know Tim will talk a little bit more about that, as we want to hear from all of you. And we are excited and thrilled to be here and joining you in this forum. A while back, I'm not sure, I just wanted to give you a little history on how this came about. A while back, our communications committee sent out a survey to all our members. And in there was a question, if you could ask your leadership team anything, what would it be? And we got some awesome questions, and I attempted to answer some through my videos. I know communications is addressing some as well. But then we realized our members deserve to have their questions answered. So why not schedule this town hall and invite you all to join? So that's how the town hall was born, and we are thrilled that we are here with you today. There are several questions for MPI Global. They're global related, and I just wanted to let you know that we will be submitting those to our chapter operations manager, Marcelo de Oliveira. And then once he submits the answers, we'll compile them all, and we'll be sending all our members the answers to the questions along with the recording of the session. So at this time, I'd like to call on Tim Whalen to say the land acknowledgement and go from there. Tim.
Thanks, Margaret. So the lands on which we are hosting this event include the traditional territories of many nations. Mpi Toronto Chapter recognizes that the many injustices experienced by Indigenous people of what we now call Canada continue to affect their health and well-being. Mpi Toronto Chapter respects that Indigenous people have rich cultural and traditional practices. We acknowledge the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishbeg, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, Métis people. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. Mpi Toronto membership also falls across Ontario, where there are 133 distinct First Nations. We invite all attendees to reflect on the territories you are calling in from as we commit ourselves to gaining knowledge, forging a new culturally safe relationship, and contributing to reconciliation. We respect the continued connections with the past, the present, and the future in our ongoing relationships with the Indigenous people within our communities. So again, to echo Margaret's comments, we welcome everyone to participate in the first annual town hall of our chapter. If you have not submitted questions yet, we strongly encourage you to participate. You can go to slido.com. Join as a participant. It's nice and easy. You just enter hashtag MPITO and add your questions. Throughout the town hall, you can vote to upvote questions, and I don't think we're going to get to all of them, as there are about 90 plus questions. But we really want to get the chapter as a whole to put their questions in. As a leadership team, we noticed that there were one or two members that had kind of dominated the question submission, and we really do want to hear from everyone as a whole. So please do put in your questions, anything that you want us to answer. I'm now going to turn the floor over to Margaret Binns, your president.
Thank you again, Tim. One of the questions was actually who is the board of directors, or what makes up our board of directors. So here's a slide for you. This can also be found on our website. Margaret Binns, obviously, Christina and Tim, we make up the office of the presidents. And then everybody else there is our directors. And together we make up your board of directors. So I'm very proud of this group, by the way. And again, this information can be found on your website, or feel free to reach out to us at any time. Before we begin with the questions and answers, I did want to provide you an update on things that the chapter is working on. This might help you in terms of some of the questions as well, but just as a sharing and an update for you. Our committees are working so diligently and so hard on so many initiatives, and I reached out to them and they provided me updates to share with you. So I want to honor them in that way. And so I'll read these because I don't want to miss a thing. And if you just indulge me for the next couple of minutes. Starting off with our D&I committee, or task force, not committee yet, but task force. By now, most of you know that months ago, we established the Diversity and Inclusion Task Force. I am so proud and of our passionate and dedicated volunteers, the hard work they are doing and the accomplishments that they have realized to date. We acknowledge that we have much work to do, and as well, much learning and growth to achieve. But we are 100% committed to continuing the work and taking the necessary steps to move our chapter into one that is reflective of the members that we serve. Reminders, an update of the D&I task force was sent via the chapter newsletter on March 2nd and is posted on our website. Another update is expected in May or June. The task force is curating resources to share on the chapter's website and aims to have this available by end of May or sooner. The task force has reached out to other chapters, D&I committees, councils, task force to gain insights and share best practices. And finally, a new task force update will be provided. Again, look out for that. The Mpi Toronto Marketplace is a new opportunity for supplier members to advertise on Mpi Toronto's social media platforms. Please contact Jen Moyer, one of our directors, or Leslie Wright, our esteemed chapter administrator, for more details. A COVID-19 task force for safe meetings in person has been formed to develop new meet in-person safety protocols and develop a duty of care statement. The resource, it's still pending board approval, will be used within the Mpi Toronto chapter by event committees and shared as resources to our members as a starting point that they can adapt for their own needs. The chapter has created an on-demand content library for professional development sessions this year and beyond. This is a value add for members only. So for those who register for the live PD sessions, they will be granted complimentary access for a limited time to the recordings and any additional materials. For members who did not register or were unable to attend the live session, they will be able to access the content on demand for a small fee of $35. A few more initiatives. For your convenience, we have created a pandemic resource kit where you can find all sorts of links and information in one easy to reference document. It includes information from the Government of Canada and MPI Global, as well as links to support services available, including inspirational apps and podcasts. The kit is available on the Mpi Toronto website at mpitoronto.org. Members are reminded to watch their email for an invitation to participate in a new opportunity to share knowledge with their fellow members. The Peer Knowledge Network is on its way. Do you have a skill that you could help other members with? Are you looking to learn a new skill or just don't have the means to fund it? Connect with your fellow members to share knowledge, skills, and help educate each other. For more information, please contact Stephanie Rapko at stephrapko@hotmail.com. Our communications committee has been working hard to keep us updated on chapter and industry news through the Meeting Light newsletter, the chapter blog, and Meeting Magazine, the chapter's own magazine that publishes 4 times a year. You may recall that our latest issue of the magazine, titled Rethink, Redefine, Redesign, was moved to a digital-only publication. Digital offers us many additional opportunities, and we are extremely excited to test and implement some new options for the upcoming spring issue, titled What's Next? The format will look different and is something we will continue to advance, but we remain committed to sharing with you expert opinions on industry topics, our chapter, and the global community. Stay tuned for more information through our social media and communications channels in the near future. And lastly, on these updates, our GMID committee is hard at work preparing for our Global Meetings Industry Day kickoff celebration, which takes place next Wednesday, April the 7th at 5 p.m. This complimentary virtual event will be a guaranteed good time for all, with opportunities for networking, awesome entertainment, and prizes to be won. You don't want to miss it. Visit our website today at mpitoronto.org to register for this complimentary event. So I hope that those updates, that initiative, gave you a little bit of insight into all the work that is going on at the chapter level. We are so committed to all of you, our members, and we are working tremendously hard on your behalf. So at this time, I would like to turn it over to Antonetta Tantalo, who will start us off with our questions. Antonetta, please.
Perfect. Thank you. Hi, everyone. So I am the Director of Communications and excited to be moderating today. As Margaret mentioned, we have a lot of questions. We've got lots of suggestions and recommendations that have been submitted through Slido. And we're going to do our best to get through all of them, but we're going to start off with the questions first. And before we do, just a reminder, this is being recorded for those who couldn't join. And again, anything that we can't get through will be addressed at a later date and shared with our membership. So let's begin by asking the first question here. I did not see nor experience being mentored by any senior members of MPI Toronto. Who is mentoring who, and how can a member be mentored?
Christina, you want to take that one?
Take it. Yeah, I haven't said anything yet, so I'll jump in on this one. And that's one of my favorite topics. So, perhaps not the most visible in terms of mentoring. Often it happens on one-on-one basis, but I won't dive too deep. Margaret did touch on a couple of these opportunities that are relatively new initiatives that hopefully whomever asked this question and to others interested in mentorship programs can hop into. And so Margaret did mention that peer-to-peer knowledge program that's going to be released soon. Stephanie Rapko has just on the midst of launching that program, which is really a very focused mentoring program on specific skills. Also, if you haven't yet, check out Connect Up. That opportunity is coming up, and you can mentor or be mentored at that event in the next week or so. The other kind of opportunity, I would say, and perhaps not as formalized as some of the other programs I mentioned, but one that was extremely successful for me and I continue to take advantage of, is just through volunteering. And so often through those volunteer opportunities on committees, whether it be a chair to volunteer or volunteer to volunteer opportunity, that's where those organic mentoring experiences happen. And I've been fortunate to be the recipient and I guess also the mentor to some of those people. So making those connections and oftentimes on that committee is where you can do that. If none of those work for you, if those aren't options for you and you don't want to try any of those things, reach out to me directly and we will try to make connections for you in terms of mentors and mentees, because that's the other way we can formalize it.
That's perfect. I've taken advantage of that as well, and I think that's a great way to get to know people and find mentors. Next question, what do you foresee for the future of in-person events? That's a real common question that a lot of us have on our minds. Who'd like to take that?
Oh, in-person events. Like I know that everyone is itching to get back to in-person. And I, through this pandemic, I can think of at least 3 times when the board thought we were ready to take steps toward that. And all of a sudden the next week we found us back 2 steps. But I think we'll continue to take advice from government and health officials before we make that step. If I had a crystal ball, I'd definitely extend those thoughts, but you know, I don't know exactly myself what the future of in-person looks like. I know virtual has really taken off, and I know it's probably more common conversation to look at what hybrid will look like. But I know everyone is itching to get back, and so are we at the board level, and we're pushing for it. I don't know if either of you guys want to add to that.
Yeah, I just want to say I am, Christina, you weigh in too, but as a planner and working for an association, I know our members want to get back in person so desperately, but we are all waiting to hear what the government, we need to follow the protocols and the guidelines. I mean, we have to abide by them too, not just follow, but abide by them. So we're just all in a waiting pattern, and the same goes for our chapter. Christina?
Yeah, and just to add, I think we're all in that waiting pattern on that specific date, that timeline of when that is. In the meantime, I think, you know, as Margaret alluded to in her remarks again, you know, the planning and the strategy of what that looks like for our chapter, that work will happen at the boardroom table, and with this, you know, in association with our chapter administrator, preparing for whenever that date is. We're going to start getting ourselves ready for that, so that we are ready. But I think we all can agree there's no crystal ball on that date.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Why is MPI Toronto chapter exclusive to one charity?
I can tackle this one. I've been around. I've been around the boardroom table a long time. So I was around when we weren't exclusive to one charity. And I think 3 or 4 years ago, the board made the decision to go exclusive because we felt that we were spreading ourselves too thin and weren't making a great impact when we were supporting several charities. So, you know, I can think of one professional development that I attended where there was a book exchange where people could donate books and people could leave a donation to take a book, and it was a very good idea. And we were supporting that. And I think, you know, when I looked in the little tip jar, there was about 50 cents in there and it didn't make an impact. So that's just one example that if you spread yourself out too thin, you're not going to make a great impact in all the areas that you want to. So again, 3 or 4 years ago, we made the decision to throw all of our support behind Breakfast with Santa. It is assessed on a yearly basis of whether that is still the direction that we want to go. But I think, you know, we've made such a great impact in that area with Breakfast with Santa, and I've seen some of the videos and comments that come back from that charity of what kind of impact our chapter members have made, and it's just amazing. So the short end of the answer is to make the greatest impact in one area that we can.
Okay. Thank you.
And also, if I can add to that, with other charities, as they come up for suggestions, we have to vet them. We can't just, you know, there's work that goes behind it to make sure that it follows or that it aligns with our values and what we stand for as well. So but that's a great answer. Thank you, Tim.
Okay, thank you, Margaret. Just a wild thought. Do you think MPI and PCMA will have a chance to collaborate on one big event here in Toronto, Canada? I think that's a great question, not really a wild thought. I think it's great.
I love collaboration. So, you know, this is one of the steps years ago where I was a big proponent of pushing for collaboration between the Ottawa and Montreal and Toronto chapter with the event. I really believe that, you know, collaboration is key to expanding our circle within our chapter and getting fresh ideas and diverse viewpoints. Now, that being said, you know, the event has been a success, but there has been a lot of hurdles that we've had to work to overcome because you're dealing with not everyone has their own goals and ambitions aligned sometimes. I know in working with the other two other chapters, there's a different size and different ability to offer resources. So it's been a juggle to keep the event balanced. We've been successful at it, but when that's what I think of when I see this question about collaborating with another association. We're always open to new collaborations, but I do know with Global Meetings Industry Day, for many years we collaborated with a whole conglomerate of associations, and sometimes the resources and efforts were not aligned, and a lot of times, to be honest, our chapter ended up taking the reins and producing the entire event, and we basically slapped the other chapters' logos on the screen. So the opportunity has to be right, and I'm not talking specifically at PCMA, but any collaborative engagement needs to be the right opportunity for our chapter, and it needs to have equal representation and equal resources put forth.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. Next question is, are there any challenges the chapter is facing presently, and what are you anticipating to become a challenge in the near future?
Do we have any challenges?
No, I'll take that, and I'll allow Christina and Tim to weigh in. Oh yeah, we're just doing rosy. Who isn't experiencing challenges at this time? I mean, we've been living under a pandemic for a year now, and it's hard to believe, because when I left my office back in March of last year, I thought we were going to shut down for 2 weeks, and it's been 12 months, and it's incredible. The chapter's challenges are, well, one of them is loss of membership. We recognize that so many of our members either lost their jobs and can no longer pay for their membership dues, or their employers decided to not support them. Some of our members have left the industry altogether. So loss of membership is one. We've lost about 100 members in the last year. Globally, though, there's been about 6,000 members lost from MPI. So we all know that this has been a tragedy in our industry. So that's one of the challenges we have. Financially, again, because we recognize that so many of our members were in financial hardship, we wanted to offer as much complimentary programming as we possibly could. So for the better part of last year, all our programming was free of charge, and we are still actually offering complimentary with the Just Networking sessions. But because of that, then there's no revenue coming in from our events, and we still have bills to pay. There are expenses that need to be covered. So right now we are actually operating in a deficit situation, and we've had to dip into our reserves. We have the previous leaders of this great association to thank for being prudent and for being fiscally responsible and for saving up those reserves for a rainy day. And the pandemic is a rainy day. This is what it's meant for. And hopefully we can repay that as time goes on. So in addition to the loss of membership and our financial status, MPI Global has also cut our rebates by half. And before the pandemic, we were getting 18% of all membership dues, and now we're only getting 9%. So that again reduces our revenue. Going forward, we obviously have to find ways to replenish our revenue, and we will continue to rely on reserves for the time being to a certain extent, but we do really have to find a way to monetize our events, because not only are they valuable, but we only have so many reserves. And if we have no revenue stream, the association can only operate for another year and a half. So we have to start monetizing our events.
I think it's important to clarify as well, Margaret, that the reason we are operating in a deficit and the reason we are relying on our reserves is so that we can continue to keep our registrations at low or no cost.
Absolutely.
to help the members of the chapter. So that's a decision
Absolutely.
we made is, and that is the sole reason why we made that decision as a board.
Absolutely. Thank you, Tim, for adding that, because despite the revenue loss, we have actually amped up our programming to keep our members not only engaged, but also informed and giving them a platform to network. Christina, did you have anything to add?
It's kind of building on that, Margaret, is just, the challenge, like all of us have experienced, is that, in addition to what Margaret mentioned, is, with COVID, we have had to, as a board and as a leadership, reinvent the way we deliver everything. And so I would say, on top of everybody in their day-to-day life and jobs, or, whatever your circumstances are, you have had to relook at and redo how processes and procedures and day-to-day operations and event execution has all happened. And so the workload challenge that this leadership team and this board has encountered this year is tripled, doubled, to be able to ensure that we can continue to execute and deliver. And so very much, taking things on as they come at us, and figuring out navigating the next step without a clear map that was, like many other things in the past, has been so nicely and laid out for us, and blueprints has been, provided for us on how to operate. And so I think when we look at how operations have changed over the last year, it's certainly been a challenge, but not one that this board has shied away from. Actually, I would say overcompensated and over delivered on every piece of work that has been thrown at them. So
okay, thank you for that. I heard that Leslie Wright's salary was cut off. Are other MPI workers from head office in the US also doing this, and why are we sacrificing our own?
I'll jump in on this one.
Okay.
And I did read a couple of questions that were very concerned about Leslie and very emphatically reinstating her salary right away. So yeah. Just to clarify a few things. So the Mpi Toronto chapter does not pay Leslie Wright's salary. We enter a contract with Fletcher Wright to pay for their administration services and their ability to guide our chapter. Fletcher Wright pays Leslie Wright's salary. I am assuming she is still making a salary from Fletcher Wright. But this goes on to the stuff we just talked about of how there's no blueprint for these things and the difficult decisions that had to be made. As a board, when the pandemic hit, we had to make some very serious decisions. We had no idea how long this would last, how long we had to assess how much, of a deficit we could run month to month, how much we had in reserves. And one of the very difficult, probably the most difficult decisions we had to make was to chat with Leslie and develop a plan of how we could lower some of the costs, not only just with our administration fees to Fletcher Wright, but in all areas of the chapter. So yes, we did have to renegotiate our compensation plan for Fletcher Wright, and it was reduced by a percentage. But that was one of the many on the list that we had to look at. So Leslie is still, I want to put everyone at ease that Leslie is still, I believe, making salary.
She's still eating, as I say.
And, I just want to say that as well as the passports work, one of the real reasons why we did have such a healthy reserve and we were in much, much better shape than most other chapters in the globe was because of Leslie's work and the work of the boards that came before us.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, because the second part of the question was about sacrificing our own versus the other chapters. I wouldn't say all because I can't speak for all, but I know that many other chapters have also negotiated their chapter administration fees with their administrators.
Some have completely cut them, right?
Yep. And some, I know one in Canada that has completely cut their administration team. Now, I never want to go there because, I mean, Fletcher Wright does an incredible job for us. And I don't know where we'd be without the administrator with all the work that goes on behind the scenes. So.
And sorry, there is an out plan on this as well, that as soon as we are able to meet again, as soon as we are able to start making registration income, and as soon as we are not running a deficit, the first thing that is reinstated is the full amount of the Fletcher Wright services. We thought that would be reassessed after 3 months, and here we are several months later, kind of still in the thick of things.
Yeah. Now, one of the questions also around this was with regards to MPI Global in the US. So we'll take that one away to better understand if perhaps Global is doing something similar. So we'll take that
Christina?
one away. Okay.
Oh,
sorry. Did Christina?
We'll take that away. Yeah, no
Yeah.
problem. Yeah, and they have made many cuts to
Yes.
staff. I think they cut their staff in half from what I understand.
Okay. So the next question is, how can MPI Toronto chapter ensure that student members have access to quality educational materials and experience? Who would like to take that?
I will take that because I have some, I just wanted to educate members that our student members, first and foremost, are so valued. They are the future of our association. And to meet and to talk to these student members is incredible. They have so much passion and energy and enthusiasm. And I can see so many of them are our volunteers right now. And I can see how they're going to excel and become leaders of this chapter in very short time. But to answer the question, despite the student membership being very low, like $40 compared to $375 for a planner, $495 for a supplier. I saw some other questions about retired members. Retired members' dues are $100 and faculty is $199. So despite the fact that student membership dues are very low, and we know why, I mean, they're students, they're in school, they're not working, but they have the exact same benefits as every other member in our chapter. So they can attend all the events at the lower price, they can volunteer, they can be engaged in everything. So the education in terms of how we not only value the students, but they have the same exact access. So hopefully that answers the question. And as I mentioned about volunteering, every time I see a student member at an event, I encourage them to volunteer because it's the best and fastest way for them to make their mark and to learn and grow. So I hope that answers your question, but we do value them greatly.
Great, thank you. Who has the responsibility of making everyone's experience exceptional? Who assesses their expertise and commitment when it comes to bringing people together?
Can I have this one?
Sure.
Okay, so I'm looking into everyone's camera right now and I'm going to say the answer is you. You have the responsibility to make sure your experience is exceptional. The board and leadership and other members can only do so much to put programs in place and put everything, but I always tell my story. I have been an MPI member. I have 2 distinct relationships with MPI, and the first time I rarely attended, I rarely put in an effort, and I found it cliquey and I didn't get anything out of it. I took a break, I came back, and I really, when I started back, I don't know, 15 years ago, I really put an effort into attending every event, to making contacts, to volunteering, and that is the only way to get an ROI from your membership. So the answer to that is each and every one of us are responsible for our own ROI from your membership.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Margaret, you actually addressed part of this question before. So the next question is, how is MPI helping members impacted by COVID-19? So you addressed some of this from a previous question, but I think there are some other ways that MPI is really helping those in need at this
Absolutely.
time.
I'll weigh in and welcome Christina and Tim's input as well. MPI has actually really surpassed my anticipation in terms of helping our members, all members globally. Any member currently experiencing financial hardship can actually ask for assistance. And the MPI Foundation has to date helped over 2,200 members globally to the tune of almost $900,000. So the MPI Foundation, they, through fundraising efforts throughout the year, they have funds, they offer scholarships, they offer grants to members, and it's all the money coming in then goes out. But they had saved up some money, and they've used that money, hundreds of thousands of dollars. In addition to that, the IMEX group donated $250,000. Destination Toronto donated 64,000 Canadian dollars to help our members. So because of these efforts, there have been countless people helped. And if you're one of those that needs help or you know someone who does, I encourage you to reach out to, there's a website, help@mpi.org, or you can send an email to feedback@mpi.org if you have, or reach out to any of us at the chapter, and we will direct you to the right people. I just also wanted to know that aside from the MPI Foundation, they've also come up with different incentives, including deferred payment options for your membership dues, monthly, quarterly, or biannually. You can payment options, so you don't have to pay all at once. And then the MPI Foundation subsidies. From what I understand, the Destination Toronto grant still has some money in it. So again, once that money is gone, it's gone, but there's still some money there. So feel free to reach out if you or someone else needs help.
I'll just throw into those are like, and all of those were amazing initiatives that, from a financial perspective that, came available. Margaret mentioned the pandemic kind of resource kit that was posted on our website with lots of links to different resources, or COVID, sorry, I should say resource kit, pandemic resource kit. And the other thing that I've seen, which has been really lovely to see, is that we're hearing these amazing stories coming from our committee chairs and from our leadership team about members just being there for members for virtual support, and whether it's time set aside on their committee agenda just to connect over what the pandemic they've experienced through the pandemic, or whether it's been at a just networking session and we're all kind of either relating or comparing stories of what we're going through. So I think that's the other great, just the, I can't put a price tag on friendship. And so what you, to Tim's point, what you kind of put into this, and if the time is right for you and where you are in this COVID-19 pandemic, I know a lot of people have experienced some great support and resources to help get them through it, through just their engagement opportunities. So.
Thank you. The next question is, do you have a strategic plan to encourage new members to actively volunteer in MPI Toronto? Same people are oftentimes seen in the board and committees. Would like
Tim,
to
as the LSC, do you want to try this one? Or Christina?
Sure. So I think there's two questions here. We are always looking for new volunteers. So from a volunteer standpoint, a lot of that relies on the committee chairs and the committees to go out there and find the right people for the right positions and find the volunteers they need to execute their goals. So there's no lack of volunteer opportunity there. So we're always welcoming to new volunteers. As far as the same people often seen in the board and committees, so I think I'll address the board. So many people like myself have leadership journeys through the board. So for instance, I'll be kicked to the curb now after 8 years on the board, but I started out in leadership as a chair and then moved up to board and vice president. So it's not a situation where you're on the board for a year and you're off. A lot of people are on there for several years because they're doing different roles. So we this year with we have a leadership selection committee that's chaired by the immediate past president. So that role falls to me this year. And we have gone through the process of putting forward the board slate for next year and are working on the chair slate as we speak this week, doing interviews. In past years, we have always had just enough people interviewing to fill those roles. This year, our goal was to really go above and beyond that and have, we wanted to turn people away, for lack of better, because that meant that it was a strong and healthy application process. We were drawing from all areas of our membership. So I'm pleased to say that this year, it wasn't a good thing to have to turn people away, but we did have many more applicants for the board than roles available for the first time in, I don't want to say forever, but in a long time. So we are always looking to take the best, and also keep in mind diverse viewpoints and diverse areas and diverse views that people can bring to that board. So I hope that answered it. I don't know if that answered the question or not.
Yeah, I think I just wanted to say one thing, if I could, from a committee member perspective. I know me having my own experience on committees is, once you get bitten by the bug and you volunteer, you like to kind of participate in different committees. And so that's where you sometimes you get to see the same folks, but you're moving around on different committees and learning more about what each committee does. So that could potentially be why sometimes we see the same people sort of spread out throughout the committee.
Yeah, for sure. And I echo what Tim said. It is a journey. So for most of us to go from committee volunteer to being president to being past president is at least 8 years. So of course you're going to see those same, unless they volunteer and leave. But if they continue on that journey, then you're going to see the repeating faces. But we have call out for volunteers every year, a few times a year, and we're always looking and we're always encouraging. We see someone who shows passion or who shows interest, and we tap those people on the shoulder and say, sometimes a lot of our volunteers didn't know that they wanted to volunteer until they became a volunteer.
And keep in mind as well, it is not the same board makeup for 4 years or 5 years or 8 years. I've served for 8 years, but I've been part of a different leadership team at each and every year. So there are people that leave and graduate or choose not to come back, and there also is fresh blood coming in. So that board structure is always rotating from year to year, so we get different viewpoints.
Great. So we've been answering questions for a while now. We've got 15 minutes left. I feel like it's been going by so quickly. So let's move on to the next question. The word diversity is often quoted in your postings, but not all colors are represented in the board of directors for MPI Toronto and even at headquarters. Comment?
Christina, you've been quiet for a while.
Happy to kind of and I think I know what this poster is referring to in terms of the word diversity. But I think this probably when the world was much more aware of what was happening with racism and discrimination, as of, we all know, a very monumental event that happened in the US in last July. This Toronto chapter took a major emphasis and started looking inwards and saying, what are we doing? And as Margaret mentioned, the kickoff of our D&I task force, and the spread has happened internally of really making sure that in different committees, whether it be social marketing or in professional development or in different threads of the chapter, that emphasis is starting to put a focus and a lens on communities that are underrepresented. And so the word diversity, if I'm understanding correctly from the question, is referring to different community groups and different perspectives throughout those engagement opportunities. So I think the question's gone now, but I think it was related to color. And so we recognize that we aren't potentially representative of Toronto. And so currently one of the task forces looking at, garnering data that kind of identifies what is the makeup and what are those diverse characteristics that are representative across Toronto, and how can we better reflect the community in which we are a chapter and a part of. So work is happening in that area to help identify some of that. Also, as a board, we're endeavoring to better identify and define what diversity means for our board of directors, and what groups, color included, does that mean, and making sure that we're representative of, like I said, the population, the membership of Toronto, the membership of our Toronto chapter. I think I probably got lost there, but did I take it?
No, you got it.
The question is gone now, so.
And I think, on the board this year, and we've seen it with the D&I committee, we had intended to make giant steps. This is not going to be a situation where we can make giant steps in 1 year, despite our intention to do so. It is such a big issue. And I think, if you ask anyone on the board, are we where we need to be? The answer is no. But I think we need to just keep pushing to keep moving forward every month and every year, and eventually we'll get there. But, because of the amount of issues on the table and the amount of areas and coming up with definitions and goals, it hasn't moved as quickly as I would have expected it to move.
Yeah, and it's not something I heard, and we're getting some training for the leadership team, and personally, it's a growing and learning opportunity that never ends. We want this to be to make up the fabric of the chapter. That's the goal, but it's something that there's no destination. It's a constant learning process for everyone. But the last point I wanted to make is that the chapter, our leadership team, is 100% committed to that goal.
Okay, thank you. The next question also ties back to something that was brought up already in from a previous question. Destination Toronto gave $50,000 worth of funding. Why was that not shared early with the entire membership to help members who could not afford it?
I'll answer, and I may not have all the data on this, but I know that the 50,000, that's US, by the way, so it's 64 Canadian, was not given right at the beginning of the pandemic. It was a much later effort, and we share that with the board and the members. We've just recently reissued again to remind people that it's there. So as soon as we found out about it, we shared it. I don't know if anyone else has any insights. But we continue to promote it again today. If you know of anyone, please do so, and take advantage of the Destination Toronto generosity.
Thank you. What technology does MPI Toronto use to help their members make and maintain connections?
Happy to.
What? Yeah.
So
I'm the old fogey in the group. So Christina, go ahead.
Many organizations, we're experimenting and dabbling in different places, and of course, technology isn't always necessarily a cheap entity to acquire, but I think we've done the best within our means. And so obviously Zoom is a primary form of technology for connecting, and those are used in PD sessions and just networking sessions. Today, going out, trying something different to get all of your questions heard and answered. So Slido, another example of how we've kind of engaged in a tool that helps us better engage with everybody. Some of the other things that you may have experienced, Hubaloo, thanks to some strategic partnerships that we've had, was used at the awards gala and the holiday gala. So, trying different platforms in different areas. And the other one that is quickly catching on and exciting to see is one that our very engaged marketing committee has taken on another platform, and so a Facebook group. And so that's a forum, a dialogue that, maybe you don't volunteer, or maybe you're not on a committee, but there's another engagement opportunity and platform in which you can exchange and share ideas and stuff. So those some that I just kind of quickly come to mind, but I think that, moving from in person and into this virtual world, we've definitely started acquiring some of those tools that I think we're seeing out there. So
great. Why does it have to take months on end to have an idea approved?
Have you ever sat on a board? No. I mean, I will attempt to answer this, and I invite Tim and Christina to weigh in as well. We are a professional organization, and sometimes there's not every decision that we make takes months. The only time it would take longer would be if proper education needs to be had, or we have to consider all of we don't want to make decisions nilly-willy. This is a huge association with incredible impact to so many of our members. We take what we do extremely seriously. We act on the best interests of every member, or the majority of our members. With the decisions we make, we will know have great impact, but they also could have great consequences. So we try to take every decision that we make very seriously, and some require more in-depth study. I'll say it like that. And we get input from our committees. The committees are the ones that usually bring forward recommendations to the board. And if there needs to be more study or more thought given, we might send it back. We might get some information, further information. It is never our intent to hold the decisions at the board level. I just wanted to answer in that way. But Tim and Christina?
Yeah, I mean, Margaret, I think you've got, due diligence is owed where it is, and there's some decisions are much bigger than others, and some, to Margaret's point, representative of all 400 plus members that we have to consider all of those points of view. We also have a diverse board with bring varying perspectives, and all of those are valued at the boardroom table, and those need a chance to be heard, whether it's a bigger issue or small. And so we listen to those, and sometimes those, it takes longer to get those perspectives out and considered. This is also a group of volunteers, and so this not our day job, not our 9 to 5, but I would say almost every one of us do it during our 9 to 5 at some point. So to move processes along while you're a volunteer, we do as efficiently as we possibly can.
And I think it's a bit misleading to say that all decisions take months, because they don't. Some take years. I've been part of some decisions that it takes years, but it depends on the project, the scope, and depends how complete the idea was when it came to the board. Some we need more information at, some take weeks and it's passed and in place, and others I've been a part of that have taken years. So it depends specifically on the case.
Okay, so we have 6 minutes left.
Oh my gosh.
So I think what we'll do is I have some questions that I wanted to ask you, Margaret. And just as a reminder to everybody, I mean, keep submitting your questions, because what we can't get to will definitely be answered. So just really quickly, let's do a rapid fire before you close, Margaret. I'm going to do it just with you.
Okay.
So the first question is MPI Toronto's chapter's profit from various events held being shared with MPI headquarters?
The answer is no. Any profits that we make stays within the chapter, and we will diligently put it into the reserves for those rainy days like we are dipping into now. So the membership dues go directly to Global. They provide us with a rebate, but anything collected at the chapter stays at the chapter.
Okay, great. The second one is, I am not too familiar with tax regulations, but may I ask if MPI Toronto also files income tax, or are we exempted from doing that?
The answer is yes, we do file, except that as a not-for-profit association, we are exempt from paying the taxes.
Okay. And please explain to all how the requested donations work in MPI Toronto chapter. Where does it go when somebody donates?
Okay, so I take it when they say donations, they mean like when in the registration, there's a section to donate $10 or $25. If that is the case, then that is, so again, we recognize that not everyone can pay for events. We've offered many at complimentary rate. However, thankfully, a lot of our members are not enduring financial hardship, or their employers continue to pay for their events. So we've opted to offer an option for donation in some of the complimentary events. We offer the optional donation, and that just basically simply goes to offset our expenses. Again, we're still operating in a deficit situation. Every little bit helps. Every dollar that we collect, whether it's from a donation or from a registration fee, is one less that we have to dip into from our reserves.
Thank you. Thank you for answering those. So we have 3 minutes. I will hand it back over to you three for any closing remarks that you'd like to share with all those who are joining us today.
Oh, thank you, Antonetta. So I just wanted to, I can't believe the hour is already gone. Like, that was just so quick. We endeavor to do more of these because you as our members deserve it. We are always here. You know, I did see one question on the survey that it was a little bit troubling in terms of trust. And I speak for myself, I speak for the rest of the board. This is a volunteer gig, as I've said many times before, and somebody else said it. We devote countless hours to serve you, the membership. I do it with integrity, with passion. And in terms of the question of trust, it is up to you to determine whether you can trust us or not. I think our devotion and our hard work speaks for itself. But I'm very passionate about the association. I'm very passionate about the members, and I am so grateful to every single volunteer that works on your behalf. So I just wanted to put that out there. I wanted to thank all of you that attended today. It is incredible to see. I also wish to thank a few people, so I don't forget. Tammy Adams, thank you to you and your committee for promoting this event. I really appreciate that. Director Antonetta Tantalo, thank you so much for moderating our questions. I want to thank Jennifer Pelletier for supporting Antonetta and Tammy and in the background. Thank you to Fletcher Wright Associates, Leslie Wright, for being there. And she works so incredibly hard on your behalf. And for us, we keep her hopping.
And Fletcher Wright better be paying her a salary.
Yeah, exactly. As well as to Nikki Wright and Jason Boyer. Thank you so much for all you do. And please extend a huge thanks to the team behind you. I also want to thank our board of directors. All of us collectively work on your behalf, and I am so grateful to all of them for their support. And last but not least, I wanted to thank Tim and Christina. Without you, I am nothing. I always say you are the greatest support anybody could ever ask for. And I wrote a little quote here. You know, my theme is inspiring hope. So I wanted, in my quest and my mission to inspire hope, I leave you with this quote from Maya Angelou, who is one of my favorites. Forgive yourself for not knowing what you didn't know before you learned it. I love that, and it's appropriate for a town hall. Tim and Christina, your last words. I don't want to take up any more time.
Go ahead, Christina.
You know what? Margaret loves to end on time, so we are. That's all. I appreciate everyone's participation, and no, I truly value your questions and your input, and thank you for giving us the time to answer them and tuning in for this. So I appreciate it and look forward to connecting.
Yeah, I don't have much. This is great. I think this is a session we should do every year or even multiple times a year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.